What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of At Bat Recap. Today, we're going to be talking about the Athletics. Now, they used to be the Oakland Athletics. Now they're just the Athletics, and soon they're going to be the Las Vegas Athletics. So I'm excited to go see them in Las Vegas. That's a dream of mine. That's a goal of mine. So hopefully we can make it out to 2028 opening day in Las Vegas. That would be awesome. Also, we're going to talk about how they did in 2025 and what 2026 might look like for this young athletics team. And then at the end of the episode, we're going to break into the WBC. The quarterfinals just finished up. The semifinals are starting today. So we're going to break into that and take a look at what those games have looked like throughout this last week. I'm also going to talk about taking my family down to Houston and watching the USA versus Great Britain. So I'm excited to recap our trip, talk about how much fun my family had, and just overall get into the WBC. It's been crazy this week. There's been a lot of upsets, a lot of fun games to watch. So maybe you've tuned in, maybe you've seen some of them. I know lately I've watched the Dominican Republic tear up Korea. I watched USA barely come through Canada. And then I loved watching Venezuela upset Japan, but we'll get into that at the end of this episode. So right now, let's step into the batter's box. This is At Bat Recap. 2025 for the Athletics, there was a lot of development going on, figuring out what their core pieces might be. Like I said, they have a lot of young talent. I think they had 2 Rookie of the Year candidates in their lineup alone. Nick Kurtz, he looked like a future superstar. He was offensively and defensively all over the place in a positive way, though. He really came out and let people know, hey, Nick Kurtz is the guy to look out for. Shea Langoliers, he broke out in a big way. Tyler Soderstrom showed he can be a middle of the order bat. And Jacob Wilson, their shortstop, had one of the best rookie seasons you might not have heard enough about. Basically, the A's lineup went from who are these guys to wait, these guys might actually rake. Just looking at their 2025 lineup, some of the highlights. Nick Kurtz, the star of the offense in 2025, 290 average, 36 home runs, 86 RBIs with an OPS over 1, finished in the top 12 in MVP and won Rookie of the Year. OPS plus of 173, which is absolutely ridiculous for a rookie. If he keeps developing like this, the A's might have their next franchise player. And they already have a few other franchise players if you look at their roster right now. 2026 projection for Nick Kurtz, I easily think he's going to hit 40 home runs this year. The kind of hitter that pitchers already circle on their lineup card when he's in the lineup. Shea Langoliers, probably one of the best hitting catchers in baseball last season. 277 average, 31 home runs, 72 RBIs, 861 OPS. That is elite production from a catcher. We talked about last week the big dumper, Cal Raleigh, hitting 60 home runs, which is phenomenal. But he only had like a 236 batting average. He wasn't producing anywhere else in the lineup except for when he was hitting home runs. Shea Langoliers is producing RBIs, hitting home runs, and moving runners around the bases while getting on base to produce runs. So that's elite production. If he keeps hitting like that, he could be the top hitter in the catcher position this season. Will Smith from the Dodgers, also an elite hitter on the offensive side while having elite defensive production. So look for Shea Langoliers to be in that talk this season. Tyler Soderstrom played nearly the whole season and produced 276 average, 93 RBIs, 25 home runs, 820 OPS, big left-handed bat in the lineup. And he's hitting on lefties and righties, which is huge for a left-handed hitter. I think he can easily hit 30 home runs this season and produce for this young lineup. And then you got Jacob Wilson, one of the most impressive young hitters on the roster. 311 batting average, 151 hits, 13 home runs. Not huge power, but he's getting on base. He's coming around and scoring runs, and he's moving runners. 63 RBIs, pure contact. He kind of reminds me of Luis Ariz with just his ability to go out there and make contact with the ball. I think he's going to be an every year 300 hitter. If you're hitting 311 in today's MLB, you probably deserve a medal and probably a free steak dinner. I mean, if you're just asking me, anybody who's hitting 311, especially that young coming up, I'd buy you steak dinner. If I knew you, we'd go out and eat steak dinner. Lawrence Butler, another young piece, power, speed, 21 home runs, 22 stolen bases, a legit 2020 player. He might even could push that to be a 30-30 player. If he cuts down on the strikeouts, this guy could explode. And then you got their utility DH, sometimes going out and playing outfield. Brent Rooker, veteran power bat in the lineup, 30 home runs, 89 RBIs. Basically, he reminds the young players, hitting a baseball far is still important. He does have some phenomenal power. Now, they did play all of 2025 home in a minor league stadium, so give them a little bit of credit there, but these guys still hit the ball. They're hitting home runs away in major league stadiums. I know when the Padres went there this last year, they actually struggled in the minor league stadium. I thought, man, we're going to hit 20 home runs through this series, and the Padres didn't hit as many. And the Athletics weren't hitting as many in that minor league stadium. I think something to do with the elevation and where they are in San Francisco really just affects the ball in its own in that stadium. For 2026, though, they got Shea Langeliers back at catcher, Nick Kurtz back at first base. They did pick up Jeff McNeil from the New York Mets. He's going to play second base for them. I like that pickup for them. He's another veteran to lead this offense and this defense, which is so young right now. Maybe he can come out and have a 250 season, hit him, 15, 20 home runs, get him in the, I don't know, maybe batting sixth in the lineup, and he can bring some of these 3, 4, and 5 hitters home that are going to produce. Max Muncy back at third base, not the Dodgers Max Muncy, even though I'm pretty sure they have the same exact birthday and the same exact name, which is crazy. Jacob Wilson back at shortstop, and then Denzel Clark at center field, Tyler Soderson back at left field, Lawrence Butler in right field, and then Brent Rooker at DH. Just looking at that lineup makes you think, man, they have some young mixed with some veterans, but they can produce. I don't know. I think their pitching staff still needs a little bit of work to put them in the playoff talk, but their offense is there. I think they have a young, powerful offense that could really upset some of these teams that they go and play against. The problem is the pitching side for them. One of the biggest offseason moves, like I talked about, they picked up Jeff McNeil. He's the type of hitter every young lineup does need. He's a contact hitter. He has experience, professional at bats, basically the opposite of a guy swinging for the fences on a 3-0 count in Little League. He stabilizes the lineup and he will help these young hitters develop. Then let's talk about the rotation a little bit, because I just spoke about how I feel like they have a really productive offense, but they don't have a very low ERA rotation. Jeffrey Springs, he was solid. He had a solid 25 season leading the rotation, 11-11 record, 4.11 ERA, 171 innings, and 138 strikeouts. He's reliable. He's there. But that's not the type of season you need to have from somebody who's going to lead the rotation. If that's your ace, then you're really going to need to bring in some lower ERA, higher strikeout arms. They have Luis Severino, brought him in at the beginning of 2025. He had an okay season, 162 innings, 124 strikeouts, another high 4.54 ERA. If he can stay healthy, he's capable of being a strong number 2 starter. But he's got to drop that ERA down and got to get some more swing and a miss. JP Sears, before he was traded last season to the Padres, he took the ball every 5th day. he was out there, 111 innings, 97 strikeouts, not flashy, but he was dependable. He does have a higher ERA. Jacob Lopez, he had an impressive 2025 season, 4.08 ERA, 113 strikeouts, and 92 innings. If he could take a big step forward in 2026, he might push himself towards the front of this rotation. I think they're going to have Luis Severino, Jeffrey Springs, Luis Morales, Jacob Lopez, and Aaron Savali. This rotation might not be loaded with superstars, but solid arms and improving young arms. If the young pitchers take another step, the staff could surprise some people. You never know what you're going to get out of some of these arms. Like I said, Jacob Lopez looks like he has ace stuff. He's just got to get a little bit more swing and miss and have a little bit more control in the strike zone. Who knows? Like I said, we've talked about this ABS system. This ABS system will change a lot of these at-bats in the 2026 season. The biggest thing for 2026 for the Athletics this season is growth. The core is young and talented. Kurtz, Wilson, Soderson, Butlers, Langoliers. If even 2 or 3 of those players take another step forward, the A's could become a sneaky competitive team. I really think they're already competitive offensively. You really need not their defense, but their pitchers to step up and limit runs, because I think this offense is easily a 4 to 6 run everyday offense. But you need the defense and the pitchers to be a 1 to 2 run everyday pitching staff. So I know it's the MLB, anything can happen. Things change with one pitch, one swing, the games can change. So the rest of the AL West might start to realize that the rebuild is over. I wouldn't say completely, because their pitching staff still needs some work, but the offensive rebuild is for sure over, and this team looks dangerous. So that's the 2026 Athletics, the 2025 Athletics. They looked nice last year. I have a feeling that they're going to be the 4th team in the AL West, but they could easily, with some pitching help and their offensive balance, they could easily move their way up into being a wild card contender if all things go well for them. So watch out for the Athletics. They're a team to look for this season. I'm sure going to keep an eye on them. I hope to catch an Athletics Rangers game when they come to town this season, just so I can see this young offense go to work. So now we got to talk about the World Baseball Classic, because if you love baseball, there is nothing, absolutely nothing like watching the entire world compete. We had an absolute blast. We had a blast going down to Houston last Saturday. My kids, they're waving their rally towels, they're chanting, USA, 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 USA. I love that for them. I loved watching them smile, laugh, have fun, yell as loud as they want, because sometimes I don't like when they're yelling in my house. But going to the stadium and enjoying that kind of atmosphere, that's what I love. I've taken my kids to a few Padres games. They know the atmosphere of baseball, and the World Baseball Classic is just next level, okay? And they had a blast. I had a blast. My joy in that was watching them have so much fun, but we got to watch some good baseball. It was absolutely fun to watch Tarek Skubal get taken deep on the first pitch of the game. Like, that's electric baseball. Pitch 1, home run. You can't beat going to a game and seeing something like that. That's fun to watch. Leadoff home runs are just exciting. They get the game fired up. Then he settled in. He only gave up 1 more hit, 5 strikeouts. So he was phenomenal through 3 innings. Holmes came in, Bednar came in, Jax and Keller came in and just pitched phenomenal baseball. Didn't give up another run the rest of the game. And then on the offensive side, you had Schwarber 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Bregman with 2 RBIs, Judge with an RBI, Will Smith with an RBI. And then you had Gunnar Henderson, 4 for 5, 2 RBIs. And then you had Roman Anthony, 1 for 4 with the walk. Ernie Clement, 1 for 3. He scored 3 runs. He had 2 walks. So PCA, 2 runs, 1 for 4, 1 walk. These guys were fun to watch, and the kids were loving it. My boys loved it. My daughter loved it. She's not the biggest baseball fan, but she loves going and doing these things. My wife loved it. Now, the 4 or 5 hour drive down to Houston wasn't the most fun. I'll be honest. Having to deal with the kids in the car for 5 hours was a little bit much. But we got there, got some food in them. These hangry kids were done, and the happy kids were alive. And like I said, we're chanting, we're swinging our rally towels. I'm getting hit in the face because my boys are just letting it go. That's what it's all about. That was making memories. I wish I took more videos. I wish I took more pictures. But man, I was just living in the moment and enjoying my kids. I was enjoying the game. Those are the things that I think they'll think about when they're older. It's something I'll think about when I'm older. And now that I realize teams are qualifying for the LA Olympics, maybe we'll try to catch an Olympic baseball game. But the WBC is just something else. So teams that have clinched the quarterfinals, we had Japan versus Venezuela. We had Dominican Republic versus Korea. We had Puerto Rico versus Italy, Canada versus USA. And man, did these games, they didn't disappoint. So first I'll talk about Venezuela upsetting Japan. The reigning champs, Japan, did not expect to lose to Venezuela. And man, Venezuela came out swinging. Ronald Acuna, Luis Ariz went 0 for 5 with a strikeout. That is not something you see every day. Otani 1 for 4 with a home run. Acuna with a solo home run. We had Michael Garcia. He also hit a home run, 2-run home run. And then Willier Abreu with the lead-changing 3-run home run just to flip the game. That was electric baseball to watch last night. And then they scored again to bring it to 8-5. So that was a fun game to watch. Italy held out versus Puerto Rico. Final score 8-6. I look forward to watching the Italy and Venezuela game. Italy has been hot in the WBC. Their pitchers have been phenomenal. Their hitters have been phenomenal. I've just enjoyed watching this Italy team come out and play in the WBC this season because, man, they have been good. Then you had USA versus Canada, and I really thought Canada was going to come back after they put up 3 in the 6th inning to come back and cut the lead from 5-0 to 5-3. I really thought that they were going to come back and beat this stacked United States lineup, but they just haven't been hitting the last couple games. They barely beat Mexico. They barely beat Canada. I don't know what's going to happen in this next round versus the Dominican Republic. I mean, they're releasing Paul Skeens versus the Dominican Republic, but your pitcher can only do so much if he doesn't get run support, and 5 runs against this Dominican Republic is nothing. So, and then we had Korea and the Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic just came out absolutely mashing. They won 10-0 after 7 innings. Fernando Tatis, 2 RBIs. Ketel Marte with an RBI. Juan Soto, 1 for 4. Guerrero Jr., 1 for 2 with an RBI. Manny, 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. Caminero, 2 for 2 with an RBI and 2 runs. He got pinch hit for. And then Julio Rodriguez, 0 for 4, did get an RBI on a sac fly. And I think he actually got on base via, maybe not via an error. Ramirez and Wells catching. Perdomo, 1 for 2 with a base on balls. So this Dominican team, from 1 through 9, they're ready to go. And USA better be ready. That's the quarterfinals. I'm excited for the semifinals. We got Skeens versus Severino for USA versus Dominican Republic. That's tonight. I'm excited to watch that game. I imagine that these teams will deploy their top 1 through 9 hitters. And then tomorrow we got Venezuela versus Italy. Lorenzen's going to pitch for Italy and Montero for Venezuela. Both two pitchers who have pitched phenomenal in the WBC. So expect a really good game there as well Monday night. I have something to do, so I won't get to catch the beginning of that game, but hopefully I'll get to catch the end of that game. Now that I've talked about the quarterfinals and the semifinals a little bit, something I want to look back on are some of these games from pool play, because the USA Mexico game was a huge deal. It was a thriller. Great game. USA won 5-3. It's the first time the USA has beaten Mexico since, I believe, in the WBC. And that was a huge momentum win for the US. But then you have their coach not realizing that they needed to deploy their best players versus Italy. He thought that they were already in after losing to Italy, and then realized that if Mexico would have only scored 4 runs and Italy would have scored 0, the US would have been out, which was crazy. Crazy to realize that you don't even know what's going on with the standings or the run rules or things like that. So Team USA beat Mexico 5-3. One of the biggest games so far. It was huge momentum for USA. Aaron Judge helped secure the win. The USA versus Mexico felt like October baseball, but that's kind of how USA versus Canada felt. And definitely that's how Venezuela and Japan felt. I almost feel like the USA versus Dominican Republic is going to feel like the World Series. Because in essence, it's the World Series semifinals. You know, we call the Major League Baseball World Series the World Series, but it's just the MLB. This is the World Baseball Classic semifinals. Dominican and Republic versus USA is going to be electric baseball. You must tune in to watch this game. I'm telling you right now, my pick for winning this game is the Dominican Republics. They look like the title favorites. Big 10-1 win or 10-0 win over Korea. They're letting people know we came to play. Fernando Tatis Jr. hitting great. Brian Bello pitching great. In their 10-1 win versus Israel, Tatis hit a grand slam. Bello struck out 7 in 5 innings. So these are the things that they're going to have to do against the U.S. The Dominican Republic lineup is stacked, and it feels like every hitter is an all-star caliber player, which they are. Venezuela, they looked phenomenal. Phenomenal. They played team baseball. They get each other fired up. I love the atmosphere of the WBC. Guys bat flipping 75 feet in the air. I love that stuff. That's fun baseball. Getting their teams fired up. I wouldn't care if they got a walk and bat flip 75 feet in the air. Like, this is the World Baseball Classic. You got to get out there and fire your team up. Puerto Rico punching their ticket when they beat Cuba. I thought they were going to make it to the semifinals. I really thought Puerto Rico was going to beat Italy. Puerto Rico made a great run in the pool play games, and I just thought that they had the momentum going in to beat Italy. Italy was 4-0. They had a lot more momentum than other teams, but they had played a lot tougher baseball. And sometimes when you play 4 tough games like that, you start to think, can you keep the momentum? You know, well, they proved that they can, and now they're going to play a tough Venezuela team who just upset Japan, which nobody expected. And then they played a great game against the Dominican Republic. My pick right now is Venezuela versus Dominican Republic for another electric matchup in the final. I do think, though, if the U.S. somehow beats the Dominican Republic, they still won't win. It's either Dominican Republic or Venezuela winning the WBC. And if Italy upsets Venezuela, they're not going to win unless it's the U.S. over there. So we could either have 2 Pool B teams or 2 Pool D teams, which would be cool. Or you could have one from each pool. I don't know what's going to happen. It could be anything. Korea beat Australia 7-2 to win the tiebreaker versus Australia by 1 run. That gave them a one run advantage in a 3-team tiebreaker out of that pool. And I was really pulling for Australia. I thought Australia had a great team. Now, I don't think they could have beaten the Dominican Republic, but I think they would have played better than Korea did. And that was just chaotic. To lose going to the quarterfinals by 1 run is heartbreaking, especially for a team that played so well, especially for a team that almost upset Japan in the pool play games. So Mexico dominated Brazil, 16-0 win over Brazil. Mexico's offense was explosive. It just wasn't enough to get them to the quarterfinals. And I really thought that I thought it was going to be USA and Mexico in the quarterfinals from that pool. And Italy just came out and said, hey, we're in this pool too. So I'm really happy for Italy. I was pleased with the way they played. It was just something phenomenal. They played great baseball, something that a lot of people didn't expect. The WBC always delivers chaos, energy, and crazy moments, and we're only getting started. The quarterfinals were phenomenal matchups, and now there's 3 more electric games. You have 2 semifinals and then the all-electric WBC championship. So tune in Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. It's going to be awesome baseball. I'm going to be watching. I hope you are too. Until next time, keep your eye on the ball, and I'll see you on the next At Bat Recap.